One is still logging in. I want to take some time to introduce myself. My name is Liz Coleman, and I'm one of the enrollment advisors here for the University of Miami, specifically for our UOnline program. And I have the privilege of being able to work with those students who are considering our Master of Public Administration program. So if this is what you're interested in, you are in the right place. So again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us. Today, I do have a very special guest here with us. And before I introduce him, just kind of want to take care of a few housekeeping things. This is going to be roughly a 45-minute session. We know that many of you are either spending your lunch hour with us or you are starting off your day with us for those who are on the West Coast. So again, do appreciate your time and certainly want to be courteous to that. If for any reason life happens and you need to scoot out early, don't worry, this session is being recorded, so you're going to be able to get that recording emailed over to you here in the next few days. That way you can just go back, watch some things maybe that you've missed or just want to go back over. In addition, we are going to cover a lot of really great questions today to give you all the information that you need about this fantastic program. But we know that there might be some questions that we don't get to or haven't even thought of. And so there is going to be a Q&A option there at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to send us any questions that you have for myself or our guest speaker. And of course, if there's anything that we do not cover today, specifically, about the admissions requirements, financial aid, application deadlines, things like that, you'll see our number and how to submit a chat as well, if that's preferred for you, so that you could speak to one of our enrollment advisors, and we would certainly love to connect with you that way. With that being said, we are very excited to be able to welcome our very own Dr. Jonathan West here with us today. He is not only an educator, but he is an author, and he is currently the chair and professor of political science, as well as the director of our Master of Public Administration program. So we're truly honored to be able to have him join us today. He is obviously the professional and knows everything there is to know about this program, as well as the field of public administration. So with that being said, Dr. West, I want to turn it over to you. If you'll just give us a little bit about your background and kind of what your role is here at the U for our students.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. And welcome to everyone. I'm delighted to know that you're interested in the Masters of Public Administration program. It's a love of mine. I've really enjoyed watching this program grow over the last 40 years, actually. And it's been one of the delights of my time at the University of Miami. My background is that I'm a political scientist by training with a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah and a doctorate from Northwestern University. I worked for a while as a management analyst in the Office of the Surgeon General, the Department of the Army in Washington, D.C., while I taught at night at American University, and then moved and taught at University of Houston in Texas and the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona, before coming to the University of Miami in 1980. And have been here for 40 years managing this program during that time. It's a program that trains people to go to work in public service. Public service is a broad concept. It includes government service, nonprofit management, working in the private sector with government. And we've had wonderful students go through the program who've gone on to have very distinguished careers in public service. And I'll be happy to talk about them and that at any point during this conversation. But the online program is relatively new. While the MPA has been here for 40 years, the online MPA is the last few years, about 4 or 5 years now. And it's grown steadily, and it's been a delight to experiment with this and to see that it has grown, and to see what we can do online that sometimes we can't do in the classroom. And we have a 36 credit program, as you may know already. The classes are taught in 7-week sequence, and we'll get into the details about it, but it's important that you know that this is just one part of the Masters of Public Administration. We have a a dual degree program, not for those in UOnline, but just so that you know a little more about it. We have a joint program with the law school, a JD MPA, with the medical school, an MPH MPA, with the International Administration Master's Program, with the Criminal Justice Program. So we have a lot of dual degree programs in addition to the on-campus and the online. We also have a Master's of Public Policy as a relatively new program in an undergraduate major in public administration for students at the undergraduate level. So I'm happy to talk about any of those topics or others. You asked a little bit about the program. You know now the history of it. The one on campus is 48 credits. The one on UOnline is 36. The idea is for the online program, we're dealing with people who are mid-career, who have work experience, who can relate what they're learning in the classroom to what they do on the job. And for many people, they didn't know that they were going to be in public administration, and they now need to know a little more about it now that they're considering it, or now that they are involved in public administration. Mm-hmm. For some, they want to improve their promotion potential, or to move from maybe local to state, or state to federal, or federal to international. And so the MPA is a nice, the one for adults is a nice transition for people, maybe within their present job, or as they think about other places where they might want to work. The curriculum is one that is consistent with the standards established by national professional bodies like the Network Association of Schools of Public Affairs and Administration. It also is closely linked with the American Society for Public Administration. So the curriculum was designed carefully with course designers to make sure that we touch all the bases that you would need to know about if you were going to go into public service, or if you were going to advance in public service. With that background, I know there are other questions. Let's move to another one, and we can pick up on any of these too.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you giving that overview of the program, because you're right. I think we have a wide variety of students that pursue this program, some who are coming in with completely different backgrounds. They've gotten a job within public service, and they really would like to dive more into this degree so that they can develop more of those leadership skills. And then you also have others who have been in the field for years, and they're just looking to try to climb the ladder. So I appreciate you mentioning that, and also the fact that almost all of our students that pursue the UOnline degrees, but especially within the Master of Public Administration program, are full-time working adults with busy schedules. And so can you dive in a little bit about how the program from on campus versus online is different specifically for those students, and what you as a faculty member would kind of expect from them on a day-to-day basis as far as like the timeline goes? Is there a set time they log in? How many hours would you suggest a week for them to be successful? Things like that.
Okay, sure, I'm happy to do that. As I mentioned, the classes for online are 7 weeks in length, whereas the ones on campus are 14 weeks. The tuition is slightly lower for the online program. The credits are less, with 36 instead of 48. You have a little more flexibility, which is nice. With the structured program on campus, you have to be a certain place at a certain time on a regular basis, either Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or 3.5 hours one night a week. But with this program, you can do things at your own pace to a degree. There is a certain amount of effort that you need to make each week, but it doesn't have to be at a certain time for the most part, or day for the most part. So it's a distinctly different program and a distinctly different audience. I find in dealing with the undergraduates or the on-campus program, a lot of the students are pre-service. They are students who went straight through undergraduate school and right into graduate school. We can talk to them about workplace issues, but they may not have much experience in workplace. They may have interned somewhere, but beyond that, they might not have the kind of work experience that someone in our online program has. It's wonderful online. Just to give you an example, I just finished a course and I'm starting another one in the fall that has a lawyer, an engineer, an architect, a social worker, a very diverse and interesting mix of people. And with adults, you push them and they push back, and that's fun. It's fun for an instructor. You get a chance to really defend yourself, but also find out that there are other perspectives out there. And the theory might be great in the classroom, but if it doesn't wash in the workplace, then your credibility is lost. So you have to draw on their experience. And I'll tell you, the peer learning is incredible. When I first started with online education, I came in dragging my feet a bit because I taught for many years and hadn't really done much online. And I thought, oh, the joy of the classroom is the interaction you have with the students and that they have with each other. But you know, I honestly think that every bit as much or more interaction can take place in an online environment as in a person-to-person environment. For example, every time we have a discussion question, at least in my classes, you put a discussion up, post it, each student responds to it, and then they respond to each other. And so they're often responding to two different people having posted their own point of view, and they can contrast the way they view something with the way other people view it. And the class I just taught was on ethics, and ethics is an issue about which everyone has some point of view, some training, some background, some interest. And there are a lot of controversial issues, and it's really fun to see how they respond differently to the same kind of information. And so it is a different environment, but in many ways, I think a very healthy and vibrant department or distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad you brought that up because I get a lot of calls and, with students who've been out of school for 5, 10, 15 years, and they think that they're going to be at a disservice for, not going immediately from their undergraduate into the program. And I tell them all the time, like, no, you have this experience that someone that is just now finishing their undergraduate may not have. You have real life work experience that you'll be able to contribute in ways that they may not be able to. And so I can imagine the conversations that you guys have within the classroom are very interesting, giving all those backgrounds. So I appreciate you saying that. And I know that we also have an incredible group of faculty who partner alongside you to, teach these incredible students and making sure that we're equipping them with everything that they need. Do you mind just telling us a little bit about who those faculty are and what their backgrounds are, just to give our students an idea of who they might be working with?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Jennifer Connolly, I'll start with her. She was identified as the South Florida Teacher of the Year last year. She is a very engaging, very charismatic, very enthusiastic instructor. And she teaches some of our difficult courses. Statistics is one of the topics that she teaches, but she also teaches government business relations. She comes out of a public policy background, was trained at the University of Southern California, and does undergraduate teaching, graduate teaching, heavy research on local government, is well connected in the local community, a lot of networks, and does a wonderful job for us. Reina Stoysheva actually teaches remotely from North Carolina. And she has a budgeting background, does a lot of work in that area. She's going to be taking a job at Drake University, but still teach for us online. And she teaches, as I say, budgeting, which is a technical field, and it's important to have someone who really understands it. She's going to be working at Drake on retirement-related benefit issues, where she applies for budgeting background. Another member of the faculty, we have 3 relatively new faculty members. Nam Hoon Ki is one who, from Korea, trained at Florida State University, an expert on nonprofit management, and he's a wonderful addition to the program, publishing very well in academic journals and so forth. Another is Nicole Hamilton, and she is Humphrey. She is wonderful. She's trained at the University of Kansas, and will be teaching a course on equity and diversity, as well as one on introduction to graduate public administration. We also have Callie Colley, and she'll be teaching with us on contested issues in public administration. Marcia Beck, who is actually was trained at Notre Dame and has taught here, taught Russian politics and Soviet politics, but she has recently been, not recently, actually for 10 years now, teaching for us in public administration as well. And she teaches a course on organizational dynamics. So there are a great group of faculty, very dedicated, very committed, and I think you'll enjoy them in the classroom.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like our incoming students and of course our current students now definitely have a lot of opportunities to be able to learn from these professionals and their experiences. And I think that is another one of the biggest questions that I get is networking. I think one of the biggest fears is that, okay, I get my degree online, I'm on my own little island, I'm getting it so that I can grow professionally. How am I supposed to do that within the online classroom? And so given that concern, what would you say as far as, how we partner with our students to network, of course, with Chapel Career Center, but also from a faculty standpoint? Is that something that you guys will help our students with and helping them determine based off of these courses what their passions are and different connections that you guys may have?
Sure, that's very important. We're part of a network that is national and international in nature. Actually, I might just mention our on-campus program has a lot of international students, and those international students will train here and then return to their home country. But we maintain contact through the network that's been established among our alums and also with people outside the South Florida area. But networking is crucial, and we really encourage our students to network with those in the profession. One way we do it with our on-campus students and with any online students who reside in the 3-county area around Miami is we either take them to or allow them to participate online a best practices conference that takes place in South Florida annually. We'll rent a bus and put all the students in a bus and go to the all-day conference, and they'll get a chance to learn from people who do it every day, who do public administration every day, so that, again, you can learn the theory in the classroom, but until you have an internship or until you have a job or until you talk to people who actually rub shoulders with people who actually do the work, you might not know enough about the actual work of a public administrator. Mm-hmm. We also have in the past sent students to conferences. So annually, the American Society for Public Administration has a conference at a location within the United States, and we will often select 1 or 2 students to attend that conference and represent the university and represent the program. And the same with the network of political science and public administration. They too have annual conferences, and sometimes those training conferences are some that we've sent our students to. So yes, networking is important. It's important for gaining a job. It's important for developing your skill set and for making the kind of connections that will enable you to either get a job or advance once you have a job. We take mentoring seriously, and we work with students to find out what they want to do, why they're pursuing the degree, how they might use the degree, what skills they feel they're deficient in, and what skills they need to further develop, and then have enough flexibility to enable them to use those skills in ways that are helpful to them. Just an example, in our dual degree program, for example, a lot of those students are in public health, and the public health students might be interested generally in public administration, but they also want to be able to relate public administration concepts to public health. And so if there's an assignment in class that involves a paper and we're learning about public policy, then there's surely flexibility that they can choose a public health related public policy and have that be the topic for the paper. We have a lot of people in law enforcement, and in almost every topic, you can see an angle that you could use to relate public administration concepts and theories and tools to law enforcement. So there is flexibility, there is the opportunity to focus on your interests within public administration. Again, law, law enforcement, education, healthcare, environment, immigration, all kinds of options there.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. I think with public administration, it is such a broad field that has many directions that students could go. And one of the questions that I ask my students, like, well, what are you passionate about? And usually it's always like, I have a passion for people. I want to affect some type of change, whether it be in their local community, bigger government, healthcare. What type of career outcomes do you see that a lot of our students typically gravitate to, or is it usually very broad like what you mentioned earlier?
It's beyond, it is very broad, but most of our students go into government. Most of them go into local government. However, what the trend I've seen in recent years is nonprofit organizations are very attractive to many people. They might think that I might try government sometime, but I'd really like to start with a nonprofit organization and see if that is the way I exercise my interest in public service. So there is a lot of flexibility. We have had students go through our program who, one in particular ran for the school board, having gone through the program, and then later ran for Congress and won. We have students who have gone to into law enforcement, or they're already in law enforcement, and they've been able to improve their promotion chances in that field. I just got an email from one of our students who was just chosen. She works in New York. She's the development specialist for one of the major theaters there, and had raised $10 million in 1 year, and was chosen as one of the people under 40 who needs to be recognized by a major magazine. We have another who works in the White House as a deputy communications director, former graduate of our program. The city manager of Miami Beach is a former graduate of our program, former research assistant of mine, who was a deputy mayor in Miami-Dade County as well. So it's really interesting to see where our students go, and they do go to a variety of interesting jobs, whether it's a union, a library, a museum, a nonprofit. There are just all kinds of options that are available for our students.
That's fantastic. And I think, one of the most attractive things to our students is being able to get a degree from an elite university like the University of Miami that is well known throughout the country, but also all over the world. And being able to do that degree from the comfort of their home and not having to worry about relocating or things like that. One thing I did want to ask you is if you could potentially go through just some of the courses and, key topics that our students will learn. But another thing is we get asked often is, I'm interested in public policy. Would this degree be good for me, or should I consider something else? So could you not only address that question, but also just kind of dive into what the program does consist of on a course by course basis?
Sure. And it's nice that you introduced the public policy question, because it's important to know that all of our faculty members are trained in political science and public policy, as well as public administration. And so we have a master's of public policy, and we have a master's of public administration. What's the difference? In public policy, it's more economics and quantitative methods and analytical, kind of the sister to an MBA. With the MPA, it's more leadership and ethics and soft skills plus hard skill. And it's interesting when you think about hard and soft skills, people often think, well, it's the technical skill I have to have. That's the really important thing. And that might be really important to get the job, but to do the job and to do it well, you have to have the soft skills, and we really strongly emphasize both of those things. The three defining characteristics of the MPA program are technical skills, ethical skills, and leadership skills. They're all important, and they're learned across the curriculum. Those are reinforced in almost every class. So to mention specific classes, there is a basic intro to public administration and public policy course that gives you the overview. And then you focus in on more specialized technical fields like budgeting, statistics, human resource management, public policy analysis and implementation, a course on how to improve productivity in organizations, be they government or nonprofit or private. We have courses on ethics and ethics in all three, business, government, and nonprofit organizations. For the online program, we had a course on from electronic governance to digital government, but the person who has taught that is just retired. And so that course will be
Uh-oh, I think we just lost him, and I apologize for that. While we give Dr. West a few minutes to jump back on, I think we can all agree that working remotely, like we all are still trying to deal with, certainly comes with its challenges. So as we're waiting on him to jump back on, I do want to encourage you to utilize the Q&A option there at the bottom of your screen. So we can certainly use this opportunity to go over any admissions questions that you guys have, financial aid questions. In addition, I do want to let everyone know that our application deadline is coming up. It's right around the corner. It's August 16th. So by meeting that application, you would be allowed to start the semester for the upcoming September term. Of course, we would love to talk to you more about that. As for what the application consists of and what we need from you is your transcript, a resume, what we call our personal statement, which is just a 1 to 2 page essay. We call it our personal statement / letter of intent, but honestly, think of it like an interview into the program. So this would be your opportunity to share a little bit more about who you are, what you're passionate about, what your goals are. And that way, that's something that Dr. West would be able to see as he's reviewing you for acceptance. In addition to that, we would require 2 letters of recommendation. So you'll just request those via email through the application. That way, it's a very simple process for them to be able to get those submitted on your behalf. So again, it is free to apply. Take as much time as you need to get everything in, but don't wait too long because we don't want you to miss that deadline. It looks like Dr. West is back with us, so I'll go back.
different computer, but I'm back.
Well, that's okay. That's what I was telling them. With remote learning, it has certainly come with all of its challenges. And so flexibility is our middle name at this point. So I'm glad you were able to
Almost like
get
it was
back.
planned, right?
That's right. That's right. But I think we were just going through the different courses, and I appreciate you going through all of that because that is one of the critical points. I mean, we need to make sure that what we offer is going to be a good fit for those students who are considering the program. And before you got caught off, I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to add. If not, we can certainly go to the next question.
I think the courses are pretty straightforward and easy to identify and easy to find online too.
Absolutely, for sure. And students, if you have trouble finding that, at the end of the slideshow, you'll see our contact information. Give us a call, and one of our reps can certainly send those over to you. But Dr. West, I was telling the students about the application deadline. It's coming up less or a little more than a month away. It's August 16th. Kind of what we need to complete that application. But from a faculty perspective, what is something that you're looking for in a potential student? Is there something that they really need to focus in on their application, especially with that personal statement? What are you looking for within that?
Well, it's important because ideally you would meet the student face to face, but it doesn't happen. and so you have to go with the information that you have. And if you just look at a transcript, or you just look at a GRE score, or you just look at a letter of recommendation from someone you don't know, you don't get the full picture. You don't really. We do look for the whole picture, right? We try to judge the applications based on as much information as we can get, and a lot is revealed in a personal statement. It tells you why they want the degree that they are pursuing, what it is in their background that has sparked that interest, uh, how they see the degree helping them do what they are passionate about, to use Elizabeth's example. Uh, and so those things are important. Sometimes a student will apply and they might fall just short of admissibility. Uh, and then we take a look at what we can find out about them. And sometimes it's that, you know, there's the can do and the will do, and you need to know what skills they have and what they actually are going to, why they're motivated enough to overcome obstacles. And sometimes the people that can overcome obstacles, you can't tell that from just looking at the record, but you can sometimes tell if their life story is portrayed in their personal statement. So it can be very helpful.
Absolutely. I think that I really appreciate that about our faculty when it comes to reviewing students for acceptance. I know many schools, they have everyone apply on the same date. And then unfortunately, because there's usually limited spots, faculty have to be incredibly selective on who has the highest GPA, who has the most work experience or most prevalent work experience. Whereas with our program, we do have a rolling admissions basis. So it's not only rewarding students who get their applications submitted early, but it's also giving you as a faculty member an opportunity to get to know these students on much more of a personal basis and trying to review their application from a very holistic perspective compared to only focusing on the kind of the quantitative things of their application. So I appreciate you mentioning that for students. And again, students, we would absolutely love for you to apply. It's free to apply. So nothing is holding you back. And I know our faculty have graciously agreed to waive the testing requirements right now as well. So you would not be required to take the GRE or GMAT at this time. So definitely don't let that opportunity pass. Dr. West, my next question is, I know we have a lot of students here that are kind of on the fence of whether or not this is something they want to move forward with. And they're comparing our university with other schools, whether it be in Florida or across the country. And so what is some advice that you would give to these students who are considering these options? And what is one thing that our program, or many things that our program has, that would help us be a good fit for them?
Okay, I think that's a really good question. Um, Look closely, if you are looking at a variety of schools, at who actually teaches the classes, because in a lot of institutions, online education is farmed out, if you will. There are people who are practitioners, maybe only, maybe don't have any kind of academic qualifications beyond their experience. Sometimes it's graduate students, sometimes it's instructors. Uh, if you have research faculty, there are some real advantages to that. Our tenure track faculty are the ones teaching these courses. These are people who are committed to the university over the long term. They will be here during the time that you are a graduate student, and they'll be here 10 years later. And so it's important to be able to have someone who has a long-term perspective and is really interested in you, not just someone you'll see in a classroom once and not see again over time. Furthermore, research-related faculty, research faculty are people who are really concerned about scholarship and take it seriously. And so you will see them using their scholarship in their as they teach you. They're on the cutting edge of research topics that are very important, and they know a lot about it. And I think they can share that information with you in the classroom. I know I teach 4 courses in the program and use a textbook that I co-authored in every one of the 4 courses, in addition to a number of other books. But it allows you to get a feel not just for what might be said, but you can also read some of the ideas that our faculty are able to contribute. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And students, if you go to our website, you can actually look at our Incredibles faculty, their backgrounds. And I know that Dr. West reviewed some of those earlier, but if you would like to do a little bit more in-depth dive of those who you would be working with, that's a critical part, like Dr. West mentioned. And, they don't just show up to the classroom and get out. They truly care about you as a student, and they certainly have the heart of a teacher, like what Dr. West mentioned. Um, Dr. West, before we wrap up, do you have any last words of wisdom for these prospective students or those who are recently admitted and looking to start the program? Just anything that you feel like being able to share with these students?
Just that I think you'll find this to be a really rewarding experience. One of the things I guess that is unique when you compare the on-campus to the off-campus is the fact that you go together in lockstep with the same students from start to finish, except that there might be some new students joining along the way. But if you're an on-campus student, you'll go to a class, you'll meet some students, and you might not see them again in another class at another time. But with this group, there's a lot of working that takes place, and by the end of the 2-year period, you really know these people well, and you've learned a lot from them, and those are lasting connections that you'll have as you go on in your career. These will be people that will be very supportive of you and be able to vouch for you, and I think you'd find that to be very helpful. And the faculty too. The faculty are very willing to write letters of recommendation, to recommend you for fellowships, scholarships, other things that might come along. And so we strongly encourage you to consider the program. I think I just noticed that we have 35 students that I think are going to be starting in the fall. I think CaneLink says one thing, and which is the people that have actually registered, and then we have another set of numbers that make it look quite a bit larger. So it's hard to say. But even if we have 35 students, more than likely that would be they'd be divided into 2 sections, so that you'd still have that closer personal contact with the faculty member in a class of maybe 15 to 20. So we look forward to your considering seriously the program. I give students my email address and telephone number and make myself accessible to them, and I think our other faculty members are the same way. It is intensive. I think at one point Elizabeth asked about how much time, and you need to be able to set aside a fair amount of time from this class, but life does intervene, as Elizabeth also said. During the time that I've been teaching, we've had students who have married, divorced, had children, been sick, moved away, a lot of different kinds of life experiences that intervene. I'll just share this with you. My wife of 50 plus years went on for a PhD during a time that we had 6 kids under 5 in our home. 3 were foster children and our own. It can be done. I know it's tricky to balance your home life with your work life, but it can be done. She went on for a PhD and is now a clinical psychologist. So I encourage you to think about this. I know you're probably busy with your job and wondering, how can I balance both? It can be done.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing that. And we actually do have a question come in. The student is asking, are there any opportunities for in-person network opportunities for those students who are local, but they're in the UOnline program?
And the answer is yes. We have a honorary society called Pi Alpha Alpha. And for both online and on campus, you're eligible for that. And if you're in the area, you'd be welcome to come to the graduation, as most of our online students do who live in this area. We also have these best practice conferences, and you would be welcome to join us at those. We, up until recently, and since COVID, our budgets are not quite as rich as they had been. But we've been able to pay the membership dues of students. We shared that with the local Society for Public Administration so that they could network with people here locally and not have to pay a membership fee. We'll hope that the budgets become a little more flush again, and we'll be able to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for answering that question. And I know we're coming to the end of our time here. We did have a question regarding financial aid. So I did want to bring up this slide that the financial aid deadline, in order to be able to apply for that, is actually luckily the same day as our application deadline. So that way, both of those dates, or excuse me, that same day is locked in for you. It's Monday, August 16th. And how you apply for financial aid is one, as a student at the University of Miami who is admitted, you're actually guaranteed a scholarship. And our incredible faculty have graciously agreed to offer at least a minimum of a 40% scholarship to all students who are admitted. And then there's even additional scholarship money there based off of academic merit, your work experience, if you're a alum. And so contact one of our enrollment advisors to see what scholarship you qualify for. But many of our students will also use federal financial aid to help cover the cost of the program. And so that's where that deadline is really going to come into play. You're going to want to make sure that you complete the FAFSA. So the federal application for federal student loan aid, make sure you complete that by the deadline. And as a graduate level student, you should qualify for this loan. It's called the Federal Direct Unsubsidized Loan. And it actually provides students, or most students, $20,500 per year just to help cover the cost of the program. But again, make sure that you're connecting with one of our enrollment advisors so that we can certainly work with you on a more of an individual basis, because I know that financial aid can get a little tricky sometimes. In addition, thank you all so much for joining us today. Just as a thank you to you, we are going to be offering you our $300 deposit fee waiver. That way, if you decide to apply, unfortunately, we have passed our early deadline, but because you attended today, you will not have to worry about paying that deposit fee. So that is certainly waived to you, and we'll go ahead and get that added to your application once you get started. Again, Dr. West, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and your summer to be able to speak with us today. It was truly an honor, and I know that you've been able to bring a lot of knowledge to these prospective students and even those who are going to be watching at a later time, just more information about this incredible program and how they can benefit from it. So I sincerely appreciate your time, and students appreciate your time as well. I know we are all busy trying to navigate through everything that life has to offer. Appreciate you taking the time out of your lunch or first thing out of your day to spend time with us. Let us know if there's anything that we can do for you to assist you through these next steps. But go Canes, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Bye, everyone.